So how are you supposed to identify anything? Because it's all soft tissue. Oh yeah, as a thing though, I don't think this actually all happened at this one point, but I always like to attribute the two things together. I went into the military. 5'9", 5'10", enough that wearing like army boots and shit like that, I could try to claim to maybe be taller. I cannot now. By the end of my time in the military, I have been shrunk in one way or another through the joints or spinal compression down to 5'7", arguing for 5'8". I have lost inches from my time in the military, but we don't know what happened to my spine. Best thing though is, despite that, they're like, oh, well, did you get a concussion? Well, I don't know. My NCOs fucking said, get up, walk it off. It didn't tell me to go to a doctor or anything, so how am I supposed to know if I have a concussion? Oh, then you didn't have one. Thanks. Fucking thanks. Not that that's directly important right now, just a fucking statement. Like, oh, okay. So fucking, your boss knows if you have a medical injury. Sure he does. Yes, I know. I'm still trying to get the tavern. We don't, like, the tavern's not been completely set up yet. Still working on all the tables and chairs. Speaking of which, 1, 2, 3, 4 tables, and then the rest can be thrones. But you're right, since we already have the room mapped out, I should be able to know where I can put a statue. So right here, where it doesn't make sense to have a chair, we'll put the statue there. It's a nerve that gets pinched. Gotcha. It's easy to tell me because when I get a almost gets flamed and my skin is so pale you can trace it. Jesus Christ. You can see the red. What were you doing in the forces? In the forces, I was a 14 Echo. You can Google literally US Army 14E and they'll tell you the thing. It's called a MOS, Military Occupation Specialty. I believe the full definition is Patriot Enhanced Operator Maintainer, repairs, maintains, and operates the electronic computer defense system of the Patriot Air Defense Missile System. I think I said system after electronic. Should have been computer electronic subsystem app of the Patriot Missile Defense Air System or something like that. Basically, my proper job, if I only ever did my proper job, which it's the Army, so that never happens, was to sit in a van located particularly close to a big radar, scan for incoming missiles or planes of the enemies, and correctly identify where it's going to hit, whether or not we care about the missile, and if we can respond to the missile. If the enemy missile is identified as an enemy, is going to be hitting something we care about, and if it is at a particular angle, speed, what have you, that we can respond to, shoot one or more missiles at the incoming missile to blow it out of the fucking sky. However, the 14 Echo, if you think about it, it's an entire MOS, and really at one point in time per truck you can only have one, maybe two 14 Echoes, because you're not counting the officer. The officer is a 14, are they 14 O's, 14 operators? I forget what these are. I think there was one was a 14 Alpha. Oh, what the hell was the officer? Anyways, ignoring the officers. So most of the people aren't in the van. I was for a prolonged period of time in both the van that does the shooting and the van that tells the people to do the shooting. But also I have been a battery trainer, which meant I taught other people how to use the system and graded them, tested them, made sure they were good enough. And I've not been a battalion trainer, but I have set up the tests and the steps by which the battalion training happens, if that makes sense. I don't know what that term is. The battalion trainers are like warrant officers and the like. So I don't think I had a proper term for it, but I've did a bunch of that in Japan. But the truck is fucking tall. So if you fall off of that shit, you're falling. Wait, did it already get toppled? I'm looking at the wrong one anyways. No, it's still there. All right, good. By the way, chalk statue of Dragoman Rakerag. This is a well-crafted chalk statue of Dragoman Rakerag. The item is a rendition of the fenced medicine, an image of Dragoman Rakerag the dwarf, and a cavy. Dragoman Rakerag is raising the cavy. The image was commissioned by the Torrid Ors, a local dwarven government. So we really at this point just need the chairs and we should be good. However, I am going to assign this as a meeting area assigned to the Limit of Portals? The Limit of Portals. Oh god, here comes the ghost. Patriot, Fire Control Enhanced Operator Maintainer, 14E. Yep, there we go. So RNG was playing IRL, catch bullets with your bullets. Yeah, he was spitting enemy bullets with sharp bullets and mini katanas. Yeah, so straight up at that point though, like that's literally kind of what I'm doing here-ish, is what my job was in the military. You have to out-strategize what your opponents, you have to, all right, this is shooting this missile is flying at this. What could this missile be? What could this plane be? You have to actually identify the mechanics of what your enemy's equipment is to identify what it could be coming at you. Dwarves are definitely opponents. But so here's the funny thing though. Now that if we're bringing this up, not even joking, there was a particular aspect of my job that I always knocked out of the park because of this game. And every time I tried explaining it to people, and they blow it off because I would say video game. But before, like, you just go to an area, right? Like, might be a mountain. Like, I'm trying to see the window. There's a thing in my way. So before you do anything, you want to tell the radar before anything else happens. You tell it to scan. You find where the radar says the mountain is, and you tell the radar, hey, don't bother trying to look behind this. This is never going to move. It's a fucking mountain. So don't waste energy trying to beam through it with your radar beams. But when you do that, you have like a top-down view for one of the ways you do it, and you go up and you go down, and you are identifying the left and right points in the front of the mountain. I was always so good at that mapping thing, and it always came up too, because usually a lot of people are like bad at that. So the warrant officers would use that to try to catch you up and get you to make a mistake, because you're not allowed to be perfect. You're not allowed to have a perfect score. So they're trying to get you wrong on anything they can. So if you're doing really well, they'll bring up, you know, hey, I want you to do some of this particular type of mapping. And I would always be good at it. And it's like, well, why are you so good at it? Because I played Dwarf Fortress. What the hell's Dwarf Fortress? And like I said, as soon as you get to the part where it's a game, you just lose them. Because a lot of people in the military, or a lot of people in general who aren't used to games like Dwarf Fortress, cannot understand pushing a button for a different Z level. That's literally what it was. It's just, so people who don't do games like this, they go in, and it's such a thing you rarely do in the job that people don't get practice with it. They never really get to wrap their mind around it. They never understand what the hell a Z level is. So genuinely, this stupid, like just going up and down is a critical part of a 14 Echo that most 14 Echoes can't do. So if any of you guys can do this, you are more advanced at one part of a military, United States military job than a lot of people who have that job, because they don't have the time or the need to practice it. So they do not understand Z levels well at all. No sense of object permanence. Yeah, you can play peekaboo with radars. The shrine and several statues of screaming cavies, and one of my mini doors end up working at the shrine. Typical random door fortress. All right, so I've set that as a new meeting area, and everyone should be moving down to it.
You there, this workshop's running now.
We have a guy with a mood, apparently. Now, I'm thinking about moving them out of this one, but I'm kind of nervous. I never put the chests in there. Oh God, am I dumb? I made a big whoops. Some would say the biggest of whoops. Do I have chests to put over here? Oh, I have a rope reed bags. I think they work just as well as chests for holding the mugs. So I will put them along the wall that we don't have to care about. And then up here, I'm going to remove you. No one should be up there anymore. Be right back. All right. All right, call that formal set of KV breeding program. Fort, I don't want to be a military. It sounds awful what they did to you. They didn't even get you steroids to cover your tall stature. What? Good evening. Well, no, because like I said, it's just all the marching, really. Is what, like, I ended up like with, my feet got very flat. Because I mean, that's kind of it though, when you're in the military. Even if you end up with a normal 9-to-5 job, because military isn't all what you think of for the military. In the military, there are lawyers, there are doctors, there are clerks, there's people that just do paper. You know, there's regular jobs in military. So military is actually, majority of the military is just people doing 9-to-5 jobs. But you are always having to pay with your body. Every morning, Monday through Friday, you're going to do an hour of PT. But it's not like you're working out at the gym. Someone's telling you what to do. So if you're stressing out a part of the body that should probably be left alone to recover, they're just gonna call you weak. They're gonna make you stress it out more until, you know, such point it breaks, things like that. They're not trying to, I hope they're not. But the idea being that at some point you could be under attack. You could need to defend yourself, so you have to be physically fit. So when it's as important as life or death, they want to make sure that you don't try to be weak and get killed. The problem is, conversely, they don't know what is or is not someone just being weak. By the way, Thekut Gakizura blah blah. The Ranger has created Rigokir Sefol Kadol, a paradise nutwood figurine of Vesh. He claims as an heirloom in the name of the family ancestor, Datan Pet Boots. Rigokir Sefol Kadol, Glove Elder, the Entry of Hatchets, a paradise nutwood figurine of Vesh, worth 10,800 dwarf bucks. This is a paradise nutwood figurine of Vesh. All craftsdwarfship is of the highest quality. The item is a masterfully designed image of Vesh, the deity of lies, murder, and death, depicted as a skeletal male dwarf in paradise nutwood by Thakut Gakezushrir. Vesh is making a plaintive gesture. It is encircled with bands of paradise nutwood. On the item is an image of a barrel and dog bone. On the item is an image of orange trees in bronze. On the item is an image of forgotten beasts in horse leather. Glove Elder, the Entry of Hatchets. Okay, but what's your favorite US war crime? It's actually kind of a hard one. Because the problem is a lot of things get classified, we'll say, as a war crime after the fact, if that makes sense. When you're in the middle of combat, and I'm not applying this to everything, I'm not being apologetic or anything, but there are a lot of things that nowadays would probably get considered a war crime. But when you're in the middle of combat with the stress of everything going on around you, you don't necessarily know what the hell is going on. I just want to make that clear that there are some things that I do not consider a war crime because I don't think the people at the time actually knew what they were doing. be clear about that. However, if there was one that I would think of that was a war crime, but also I would say, you know what, they kind of really had to do it, I'm going to have to go with the paratroopers in World War II. I believe it's kind of half joked about in the show Band of Brothers, where Lieutenant Spears, they couldn't take prisoners. Technically at around that, no, I say technically, definitely at around that time, if someone has been defeated, you have to take them as prisoners. You can't go around executing people. That's definitely a war crime at that point, particularly if you have them completely under your control. What were they? What was their number? The parachutists, the airborne. They were so effective. The reason why, if you know, it's a weird answer because you said what's your favorite, but the reason why I will go with this is because it was essentially a required war crime because of how good the soldiers were. The paratroopers came in so effectively and took over such large areas for their initial landing that they ended up with a ton of prisoners. Really, the whole plan was designed that they would be fighting through everything so that there wouldn't have been survivors to begin with. The leadership of Spears and I'm forgetting the main dude's name right now, Winters, was so good that they ended up with a bunch of prisoners, which meant, unfortunately, that they had to commit a war crime. They executed the prisoners underneath them. If at any point they were in a fight, they couldn't trust that they couldn't feed the prisoners, they couldn't protect the prisoners, which is technically a responsibility a lot of people don't understand. If you have a prisoner, you have to make sure nothing hurts them or anything. You're supposed to take complete care of them. They didn't have the resources to do it. Really, the whole thing was kind of a shitty plan. If we didn't have paratroopers at all, that wouldn't have even been an issue if we just did a regular siege. But of course, because they had the majority of Europe, the paratroopers were kind of required for that, so it worked well. As a counterpoint to how effectively they did that mission, Operation Market Garden was a mitigated disaster. It was a complete mitigated disaster where most of the troops sent over, I believe, died to just screw up after screw up. So didn't really happen that much under Operation Market Garden because the whole thing was a complete and total loss. But like I said, it is still, I'm not even going to say it wasn't. The execution of soldiers underneath your care is a war crime. I'm not glorifying it or anything like that. But if I'm going to be asked the question to rate war crimes, I'm immediately going to exclude any at all that are known war crimes after the fact. There's a lot of shit going on. Not everything can be known as a war crime. You just have to understand the chaos of war. But even if we were to exclude some of those, that would be considered a war crime. They knew what they were doing, particularly whoever it was that did the execution. But that was only a war crime that was because of essentially how good they did their job, that it's impossible to not have done that. Either they were going to die or their prisoners were going to die. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If they were assaulted by Germans, they had no way to keep the people, their prisoners, from assaulting them and just becoming their enemy in the next fight. So it's fight them now or fight them in the future. It is a sucky situation that was placed upon them by a damn near suicidal plan, but a plan executed exceptionally well, leading to a horrible situation. I myself would not want to ever be in this situation where I'd even have to countenance that requirement. But you asked the question and that's my answer. Paradise Nutwood, best kind of figurine. Also, everyone knows that when you do a push-up, you can't get your arms straight to the ground. You're going to die in battle. You don't have to answer. That's a meme from when the U.S. Army was recruiting on Twitch. Like when Uncle RNG talks about the military, the loss of youth, and so on. And we whippersnappers listen avidly. 80 seconds. So good, it's a war crime. It's both a good and bad song. That's what I'm saying. Like, if that's the question I'm going to be asked, I mean, genuinely, that is going to be my answer to that type of question. It was a requirement because of how well they did their job. Like, there's not the execution itself, but the pride in what they were able to pull off. A bunch of other countries did similar things, but they weren't behind enemy lines, so they were able to essentially retreat with their prisoners. those are not to be taken as any less an accomplishment. I believe, was it Finland? Some country had a battle where they only went in with 40 people and they came back with 41. Like, the enemy actually switched sides because of how well they did. Like, there was a lot of really good people, we'll say. They're like really competent people during those wars. Now, a lot of stories of just sheer fucking, like, how do you have the stones between your legs to pull off what you did? Did they get rid of the carpenters, craft stores? What was here? Did they get rid of a craft store shop? I'll use a bow sight block to put it back. I hate it when veterans have lung issues due to the orders of the army for them to maintain burn pits when they dispose of all their battalion's litter. Then they don't get any treatment and the army denies their responsibility in the situation. So here's the thing. You're mostly right, but kind of wrong, at least when it comes to United States Army. Hold on. I don't think I have many military people in my viewers, but if I do, I want to make something clear. Also, I see your statue requisition form. Oh, I just never marked that as complete. Get out as complete. Hold on. So, and I want to point out, there's a bunch of shit that they tell you when you're leaving the military that they're wrong about. I don't know where the hell the people in the army get this shit, but they get it wrong. The army says you can't get any disability for hearing loss. So make sure you keep your ear pro in, and if you lose any hearing, whatever, it's all on you, suck it. That's literally what they tell you in the army, but that's not true. You do get ratings and you do get help if you've got tinnitus and other such issues, which are always common symptoms with hearing loss. But a lot of people don't think to claim tinnitus because they were told that you can't claim hearing loss. If you go through regular systems, you can't get anything for lung damage through burn pits, but you have to go to this special site. Why the hell it's separate, I do not know. There is a VA Airborne Hazards and Open Burn Pit Registry, where you go to this registry and you put in your orders. You say, hey, I'm this soldier. I was on this orders and this location uses burn pits. They compare it to their records. They go, you're right. That location does use burn pits and your orders did have you there during that time. And what it is they don't give you a percentage like 10, 20, whatever. They just give you extra money on top of whatever you normally have. So if you're a perfect soldier with no disability, you can be 0% disabled, but get money and like assistance for lung damage from burn pits. Why it's a separate thing, I don't know. I am not saying that they did good by doing this. It should be one thing, but they don't tell you about that. There is a burn pit registry for you to get assistance if you have gotten damaged by burn pits. Thank you for bringing this up, Alapega. They should do better at pointing that out. I bumped into that on accident. I was not told about that. That's because the people in the army, when you're getting out that are supposed to be teaching you this shit, they don't know. They don't know a damn thing. I don't know why they have like army people tell you what the VA is going to do when the VA and the army are two different organizations. The army does not know how the hell the VA works, like at all. I don't know why the fuck they bother to have the army tell you what the VA is going to do for you. Because then when you get out, the VA does completely different shit. You have to know how the VA works. I don't know why it's not the VA telling it to you, but that's the way it comes down. Like a lot of shit is available to soldiers due to the damages they receive in the army, but the education is garbage. Basically what ends up happening is, say Senator so-and-so from Texas says, I'm going to put this in for soldiers. Everyone agrees. This is a good thing for soldiers. But the problem is, this is the thing that they put up for soldiers. They don't, like, the senators don't think to say, I'm going to put this in the VA for soldiers. like they'll do it as individual things here and there. It's fucking ass backwards how half the shit works. So, why is it quiet? That's kind of how the VA sound sense. That's kind of how the VA works. Hold on. There we go. That is kind of how the VA works. Ish. And there's one big reason for it. As long as you sidestep the one reason, that's not how the VA works. That's not how the VA works at all. But everyone does one important step backwards, which they don't tell you how to do it the correct way. I admit this. I'm not saying that there's no one at fault here. But a lot of people end up doing a very important step backwards, and this makes it so much harder to try to get assistance from the VA. I don't think I've had a few issues with individual doctors, but I've never had an issue with the VA system as a whole. And the big issue is you have to go to the VA before you leave the Army. So here's how I did it, and here's how everyone should do it. When I got out, there's a thing called terminal leave. It is, hey, you have this amount of leave, you have this amount of vacation time saved up, we'll let you take it at the very end, so you can get out a month early, 2 months early. You can save up to 60 days terminal leave. You can't have more than that though. But you're still in the Army. If I am in the Army and I say, I'm using this to occlude my hand here, and I go, this is extreme. I shouldn't say this. I shouldn't say what I was about to say. That was a very bad example. Let's say I couldn't grab. Let's say I had nerve damage and I couldn't grab like anything, and it was always just falling out of my hand. If I'm in the Army, like right now, if I'm in the Army and I go to a doctor and I say, hey, I can't grab things anymore, it goes in my medical record in the Army. And the Army goes, as of this date, the soldier could not grab things. That's on the Army's dime. That's on the Army's time, it's on the Army's dime. So when you go to the VA and you go, look, the Army said I can't grab things, they don't fight it. They go, oh, you're right. You have a record that says the Army said you can't grab things. What a lot of people do is they leave the Army, even if they get terminal leave, they take it like a vacation. They'll take their 30-day terminal leave and they'll vacation for 30 days. After that 30 days is up, you are out of the Army. 2 days later, you go, hey, I can't grab things. The VA is going to look at your Army record and go, where? It's not written down. The Army says you never lost the ability to grab things. So now you have to go backwards and prove that while in the Army, you lost the ability to grab things. If you just report it immediately in the, and I know this sounds weird, if you just report it immediately in the Army, it's golden. It needs to be on your record. A lot of people won't go to the doctor and report everything. They'll wait till afterwards when they get out of the Army, then they go to the VA, and then they'll go, I had all these things wrong with me. That is what you have to fight. You cannot retroactively try to fight for things. But if you've ever had it said in the Army that this happened, it's good. My neck issue, I got physical therapy and stuff for it. Because, hey, you know, he's definitely got damage or, you know, injury or whatever, will help treat him for it. But nowhere in any of my record do I have even the possibility of a concussion, traumatic brain injury. It's not in my record. Because at the time, I did not go to a doctor. I did not claim until physical therapy, essentially, that, oh, by the way, I might have gotten a concussion. Well, now is a bit late to say what you might have had then, because a doctor didn't look at it. So it literally, at that point, it's my NCO's fault and my fault. I listened to him, and I didn't just go to the fucking doctor. This is what a lot of people do, is they'll just listen to what their NCO says, and they won't go to the doctor. Like, you get to the weekend, like, let's say you can't do it then. Or, you know, you have important things to do. You got carpal tunnel coming up, you wait to Saturday when everyone's got the day off, and then you go and you report that to the doctor. You're not taking time off from work, so it's not malingering, unless you're like actually like making up crazy bullshit. You're not just trying to get off work, but you just get it in your record. If you proactively get it in your record in the Army, then it's in your record. Because that's what the VA goes off of. They go off of this. is if it's in here at all, that's like plus 95% chance they accept it. If it's not in there at all, you have 5%, you gotta fight for that. But like I said, it's because everyone does it backwards. They get out, then they claim something happened. You gotta claim something happened as soon as it, or not as soon as, but while you're in the army. When I got out, I had 60 days of terminal leave. I didn't take a day of that as vacation. I was doing nothing but going in for doctor's appointment after doctor's appointment after doctor's appointment to get them to find anything and everything they could, because then afterwards I said, hey, I look at all this. Oh, what? All of this was while I was in the army? That's amazing. I didn't have to fight for anything. Like I said, the only thing that didn't go through, that they were like, no, we don't know what the fuck you're talking about, was traumatic brain injury. And that's because I didn't go check for a concussion. You can't do a test for that months after the fact for a concussion. At least apparently they couldn't. Someone got dwarfed at 37. And I see I've been missing a lot of things, so hold on, I apologize. I was in conversation mode. The Chulu got dwarf 37. 1, 2, hold on. I'm gonna pause you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. You are a fish cleaner, which I don't want you to be, but that's what you are right now. This is peak efficiency. You may not like it, but it is peak efficiency. Cthulhu. Cthulhu has an extended family, including an unnamed, unimportant shearer dwarf who is his younger sister or hers. I don't know what your gender is right now. Suloic is your nephew. Maz Kitten, the Living, is a cousin of yours. Sanctum, the Living, is a cousin of yours. And Zakthos. Actually, I lied, not the Living. Maz Kitten, the Living, is a cousin. The dead Sanctum, because I can't zoom to him, was your cousin, and the late Zakthos was a cousin of yours as well. Ghostward is a cousin of yours. Marky Kong the Late was a cousin. Davos, dead, was a cousin. You have a lover who's not currently on the map, and you pray to 5 deities. So you pray to the whole group, including the undead Vesh that we all love so much. Cthulhu recently thought, I'm all right, because she felt wonderful remembering communing with her god. Cthulhu is slow to tire, and Cthulhu likes tin glaze, copper, topazolite, coral, the color ochre, shield scepters, bushmasters for their deadly bites, spinach for their leaves, the sound of the tenebrous bright intricacies, and the sight of the play of rhythm. When possible, she prefers to consume rainbow trout, car, foxtail Malay, beer, and longland flower, though she absolutely detests bats. She has a great feel for social relationships, a great deal of patience, and good intuition, but she has an iffy memory, quite poor focus, and poor spatial senses. She dreams of crafting a great work of art someday. Now, I have been missing some turn-ins and some of the chat. I kind of got a bit absorbed. You said you shrank, so I need to give you like growth hormone shots. No, not shrank, compressed. Body parts are still there, they're just a lot closer together. Then you can become Dwayne The Rock Johnson. To push up, you can't get your arm parallel. Lung issues. All right, I'm mostly caught up. They don't get any treatment in the army, denies. Back to be all die yet. A friend of mine had some dangerous genetic heart condition in the army I discovered and didn't tell him about, so that was fun. They initially deny everyone treatment, then you threaten to sue them. It takes time. This is my French ear overheard social media. How about VA math? VA math is fucking asinine, though. VA math is weird. I will admit that. Sometimes the math that they use to determine your disability rating is like so far against you, but then the other times it's for you. Again, you have to understand, like, their math is weird. But as long as you understand the math, like I said, half of it does work to your advantage. Basically what it is they're just trying to make sure everyone's not at 100%, which sounds pretty crummy. But I mean, it kind of also half makes sense because of just the way disability works when it comes to the VA, so it makes sense, but their math is asinine. My chat disconnected isn't showing me everyone else's stuff. No, your chat I think is giving you everything that is giving me. Your chat's not showing you what my box is showing me, which is people are redeeming things. I don't think those always show up in chat. So I've got 10 push-ups during the next seasonal change, and then you've got vacation time. Now vacation just started, so to Chulu, I will give you vacation time now. And that is taking you off of every job. So T'Chulu's character will not do anything at all until January. We're just keeping quiet in awe of the almighty T'Chulu. Okay, good. It didn't die during my walk. You need to do like 30 push-ups and cadence. No. We haven't had that many turned in. We only have like 15. Oh, you mean 30 in total? Yeah. I'll probably do them 10 in cadence to a batch. So we'll do 20 when it comes time around for the December to happen. Now, half the stuff you read off didn't exist for me. I refreshed it, so it should be fixed. Okay. VA math. Okay, so as we're slight to the thing before, though. Hold on. There was a side thing someone had mentioned. So Eldridge, a friend of mine had some dangerous genetic heart condition the Army had discovered and didn't tell him about, so that was fun.
There's nothing more to
Yes, but no.
Oh, I failed. I'll never do anything so meaningful again, so what's the point of going on?
I don't have enough for this guild. All right, now. Who discovered it? You said the Army discovered he had a genetic heart condition. Before I go further on that, I need to confirm whether it was the Army or the VA. Because my point being, the Army, while you're in it, won't do or tell you things. If it's a rare, possibly fatal, whatever heart condition, let's say. Remember, the Army and the VA are two separate organizations. I want to be clear about this. A lot of people seem to conflate the two. The Army, whenever you get issues and disabilities and so on and so forth, will actually keep you in. Like, if you lose your leg, they don't immediately kick you out. Not lose your leg, but if you end up having issues with it, they'll actually keep you in. They'll keep you in. They'll give you forget the name of certificate. I have a profile. There's a thing called a profile where you can use it so you don't have to do certain things anymore. So if there's an issue with your ankle or your knee, you can get a no running profile. And this also means your PT test, you'll have to do some variation to prove that you have good cardio. Why do you still have to do good cardio? I don't know. This isn't about that. So if something is workable, they'll give you a profile and you just won't do that particular thing anymore. However, the Army, like the VA, but not quite, is rating you with a percentage of a disability. If the Army believes you are 30%, that's it, 30 or nothing. If you're below 30, they just keep you in. The doctors might not tell you, or they might assume you have an issue, but the Army essentially has no reason to point out anything to you until you hit 30. As long as you're below 30, they're going to try to keep you in. If you hit 30 and any number above is just down to 30, the Army will do what's known as a med board and medically kick you out of the military, saying this man is too damaged for us to use him for times of war and all that other good jazz. They will try to kick you out at that point. Now, here's where this kind of goes around and is in your favor, though. If you have anything at all, like let's say the Army knew, but somehow he didn't, but he gets out and then goes to the VA. Let's say I don't know the story, but maybe he had a heart issue in the middle of the Army, and then it was proven that the Army knew. Or not even proven that the Army knew, but just that somehow the Army did something to make it worse. The disability thing from the VA is not necessarily the Army caused this. You can go in with an issue. You can get a waiver saying, hey, I know I need to be under XYZ physical profile, but this one thing that would normally disqualify me, it barely disqualifies me. I should be allowed in anyways because I really want to join. The Army will give you waivers. Now, if that particular condition is made worse because of the Army, the VA covers that as well. So that's again not a thing of the Army won't help you with that. If you had it from before, but the Army somehow made it worse, they'll cover that too. It doesn't have to be a purely Army-caused issue to get covered under the goofy VA math. Now, I'm suspecting we don't have any tree haters because no one's cutting down the damn trees. Give me a sec. Did all our tree haters die? No, we have one. All right, we're gonna get another tree hater. I'm gonna grab this man, make him be a tree hater. We're gonna submit that. And I'm gonna grab this man, make him be a tree hater as well. That way we get people to actually cut down the damn wood. Because I've been trying to build things, we haven't had wood in forever. Shadow Fox is redeeming push-ups as well. All right, like I said, when we do the seasonal, the year change, I'll save it. And that's when I will do the push-ups. That is also when Chulu will come off of vacation. Can I hydrate you somehow, you camel? What do you mean? Now, half the stuff you read off didn't exist for me. Yeah, some doctor that worked for the Army was discovered independently later by a civilian doctor, and he told the Army about it, only for them to go, yeah, we knew, but we didn't tell you because we had to discharge you. So, yes, I figured it was something like that. Someone knew, but he was going to be at 30%. If he was a doctor in the Army, particularly like if it was around World War II, then they would not have had it on his record. Someone should have told him, though. There generally should have been someone that was like, hey, you have this, but we're not putting it in your record. However, how is this up here? Did someone's tooth come up here? However, after the fact, particularly if it's, yeah, we knew, then that means it's in his Army records. So then you just go to the VA and get credit for it after the fact. Like, I'm not saying that whoever did or did not tell him wasn't being crummy. What I am saying is that does not exclude him from assistance with that topic, particularly if the Army did know. Because like I said, it's 30 or nothing. Either it wasn't that much or it was something they would have to kick him out. Now, I didn't know what his job was. We appear to be saying doctor. I'm assuming the thought process was that he was not likely to be in direct combat or he was not needed to be leading a charge. So whoever the evaluator was for that particular thing thought not to mark it down. But again, even if he had it before or during the Army, after the fact, he can go to the VA and get it rated. Not even that bit, not like that's because it's in his record that like they'll probably kind of try to make him fight for it, because if he hasn't done it now and he's trying to make the claim now, but it's like, it's gonna be a fight they're not really gonna put up because he has a thing from the military, like they knew about it, if that makes sense. It's in his Army record. It's really the big key. The big key to all of this is it in your Army record? If it's in your Army record, there's not much fight that can be happened. Like, they have rules they have to follow. Like, they are tied up in how they have to oppose you as well as how they have to help you. There are certain things where it's, even if they don't want to, by like law and regulation, they have to essentially fight the claim. But as long as you met certain prerequisites, conversely, by law and regulation, they kind of have to not, if that makes sense. And the real big thing is just whether or not you had it on your Army record. Like I said, so many people wait till after the Army and then make some goofy fucking claim, or they'll make a claim for like a 60% issue or like a massive one. Like, oh, I'm permanently disabled. Well, you weren't 2 days ago. Like, why didn't you tell the Army you were? That's basically what the fight it comes down to is, why didn't you tell the Army you were? As long as you told the Army you were, like, the majority of the fight is gone. There's like nothing to happen. He was in intel somewhere. Yeah, again, that sounds like at the time, again, I'm not saying whoever made the decision to not tell him was good. Someone was a dick. However, secondarily, I just want to point out, as part of this, for anyone thinking of going in or who is in and aren't saying anything in chat or knows someone who's in, have them or you take the terminal leave. Get your medical records before you get out of your unit and read it. And then go to the doctors to like have them test for the things that are not there. Kind of at like one, it was crummy that they did not tell him. That was like extremely shitty. Even if they weren't gonna put it on his record, he personally should have known. Like that's like half bro code. Like, okay, we didn't want you to get kicked out. You look like you wanted to really be in, but also half complete ass. You should tell someone if that's what's going on. I want to be clear about that. I'm not saying that. However, conversely, he should have read his medical record as like when he was getting out. Now, depending upon how old he is, like around, I don't think he's going to be this old, but Korea, Nam, World War II, Desert Storm, and the original Iraqi Shield. Was Iraqi Shield the first one? I forget which one was the first one. A lot of those people were essentially in during direct wartime, and the army fucking did not. Essentially, everyone trusted the army when they really shouldn't have. Like doing Dwarf Fortress, there are things that you want them to do. Doesn't mean they're going to do it. Even if the army as an organization is supposed to be telling you something, you're still dependent upon that one dude from finance to tell you. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think at this point, everyone coming out kind of has a healthy distrust maybe to always check their records. Like if anyone's been in the army long enough nowadays, I think most everyone just knows you always make sure it's written down, no matter what it is. Gear, medical, what have you. It is like, everyone I knew always joked about, you make sure that it's written down, no matter what it was. At one point, I was responsible, as in if it went missing, it would be on me to somehow pay off or be in trouble for not paying off. I have been responsible for millions of dollars worth of equipment. By the way, you damn well better be sure that's going on every resume I ever submit to any company. You better be fucking sure I'm putting that on every resume. Because I've been signed for radars. Like, to be clear about this, I have been in charge of and have been signed for entire radars. Didn't matter if the dude who had it before me was like my best friend. I was going to check that every piece of equipment was there before I signed the paper. And I damn well expected that the person behind me was gonna make sure every piece of equipment was there before he signed for any papers. But it's like the opposite when it comes to like your information. If the army doesn't, like if you get an award, but the people in S1 don't record on your, about to say character sheet, on your army sheet that you got the award and you get out, you have no proof you got the award. If it's not on your record, that's what a DD-214 is. A DD-214, when you get out of the military, one, is proof that you're no longer in the military. You better believe I've got 3 copies of that shit in paper. In the digital version, I have 5 copies across different externals. You better believe that I have a copy of that fucking piece of paper. But it proves it's, other than medical, it is your proof of everything you did in the military. Everyone knows to double check and make sure the DD-214 is correct. But conversely, like I said, I don't know when he got out. Maybe they trusted bureaucracy more back then. You just have to do the same thing for your medical records. That's really what this comes down to. Is a lot of people will pay attention to the DD-214, but they will not pay attention to the medical records. And the medical records, quite frankly, are more important, kind of, than the DD-214. DD-214, besides saying that I'm out and that I had an honorable discharge and where I've been and I was combat deployed and all that good jazz, really kind of all it's good for on a day-to-day basis is if for some reason I want to make a claim that I got this award for doing this, or I was part of that, the DD-214 is my proof that it's not stolen valor. Yes, he has this award. Yes, he was combat deployed. Yes, he was in this country for this long. That's kind of all it does for me, and that's not even a day-to-day thing, but like as an other than the military, that's like the only shit that's kind of maybe important outside of the military, and even then not so much. A medical record is very important. It should always be checked. Like when I worked in Vault Casino, 30 to 40 million in cash gets counted. Yeah. We're literally not going to tell him until it killed him. It makes sense. Others dead. People can't complain. Sorry for when was this? Like, this is the thing that's throwing me off, right? You keep giving me slightly more information. When was he in? And again, this isn't an excuse as in a whole, like, well, of course they had to keep him in. But it's sounding more and more like as you give me more information. Because when I got out, my unit fucked me. Let's be clear about this. I'm defending the VA. I'm not defending the Army in this. I want to be clear. Two different organizations. The Army fucked me trying to get out. Let's be clear about this. Because now you're saying he got out because of the issue, and this sounds like the Army. The Army is not VA and is not disabilities or anything like that. So if he got caught by a civilian doctor in the military, that just means his unit was shit. Like, that is what that means. His unit was complete garbage. I was technically, well, I say technically, I was combat deployed at the end of my time in the military. I was not supposed to be combat deployed. I was not combat deployable. But they weren't going to meet their numbers, and I was one of the best at my job. And also, we had other people who were not deployable because of medical issues of their own. So I got put in to replace other people. And I was only supposed to be there for a few weeks. Then I was kept there for a few months. And they would not let me go, even though they were admitting I had no reason being there. Like, let's be clear about this. If this has gone from VA to Army to he was still in and it's his unit, that's not the Army being an ass. That's his unit being an ass. The Army has no reason to know to come down and fix something if the unit isn't doing it. Like, that's at a unit responsibility, and his unit is just full of assholes. Like, that's what that is. Why are more and more people getting found? Oh, look, all the really red people are dead. Huzzah. That guy got carried away. Like when I worked at Vault, yeah, those movies where you see one suit goes millions, that's 1 to 3,000 at most. You got out because of the issue being found by Swindler because they know their choice. And at that point, I can't remember years exactly. He's not allowed to talk about exactly what he was doing, but I know he was in Iraq in wartime. So yeah, it was either Desert Storm, Desert Shield, Iraqi Freedom. I don't think it was Inherent Resolve. That'd be too recent. Iraqi Freedom. What was the other one? Enduring Freedom. Operation Iraqi and Enduring Freedom. It was probably during one of those things, and the unit your friend was in was a bunch of asses, and they were all horrible people. There's really nothing else to it at that point. If the information that you've been revealing comes all the way down to he was still in and the unit didn't tell him, that's just because the unit's a bunch of asses. What? That's really what that comes down to. It kind of sucks that that's like the control point, if that makes sense. But that's just the way the Army works. When was it detected by the military as a whole? Because I'm wondering is when did he, because he probably wouldn't have had it when he got in, which probably means, because otherwise he would have been disqualified from joining, which probably means it was picked up during SRP, Soldier Readiness Preparations, where to do all the physicals, and SRP detected that he had an issue with his heart, and he should have been non-combat deployable. This is what I'm thinking is now the plot. He should have been detected that he was not combat deployable. I don't know if he actually got, because it sounds like you said he was in Iraq. And they realized that if they didn't deploy him, that they weren't going to meet certain prerequisites. So his chain of command, his commander, signed something saying, yep, I've looked into it, and despite this, we will be using this soldier in a reduced capacity, so this health issue should not be applicable. He is, in fact, combat deployable. basically bureaucratic bullshit to deploy him despite the fact that they weren't allowed to. Same thing happened to one of my NCOs when I was deployed. He was not combat deployable. He had issues sleeping. He would stop breathing. He had a sleep apnea machine. And he had like such a horrible degree of it that he was generally like not combat deployable. I think he was actually in the process of getting med boarded out. They're like, we don't want you dying in your sleep on us. Go away. But the unit did something saying, hey, we need him for this, so on and so forth. We're going to deploy him. However, to make sure that he is deployable, we are going to have it as our one of our priority list items that he has a sleep apnea machine. We're putting in this request that he gets whatever the hell shit he needs for that all the time. And as long as we meet these things, he should be deployable. We're going to deploy him where we are legally saying we're doing this, so on and so forth. Okay, makes sense. So the bigger army said, all right, he's deployable because this is the deployment plan that you have come up with this soldier. Okay. We get to the Middle East and they had no sleep apnea machine for him. None. And nothing. Not even close to one. As a matter of fact, at one point, were trying to get him in trouble, like hem him up, because he was showing up to work late, which is kind of weird. You're all in like one base, but he wasn't showing up in time for briefings and shit like that. He was always running late every time he had to wake up. The problem was because he would stop sleeping. He would stop breathing while he was sleeping. So he was getting horrible sleep and then just not waking up. So they were going to try to do some paperwork against him. And he was basically along the lines of, you can't. I need a sleep app machine to do this correctly. If you do try to hem me up and bring me to court-martial, I will just prove to the entire government, to the military as a whole, that you did not fulfill what you were supposed to do. I'm not at fault. You're at fault. You're going to be in big trouble if you do this. So they backed down and he didn't get in trouble. But again, that is a unit level thing. That's not the army as a whole lying to him. The army puts faith in the commanders, basically. So if your commander is a fucking shitbag, then unfortunately your life is in the hands of a shitbag. Like that's just a cold hard truth about being in the military. But I would not necessarily blame the army as a whole for no one telling your friend, but also, even if somehow it is, I would again like to point out that the VA, the Veterans Association, that does a lot of the benefits when you get out, is not the army. A lot of people conflate the two. It is not the army deciding whether or not you get benefits when you leave. It is a government but civilian organization. It is not directly military. Two separate things. I mean, it's a lot about the Brotherhood. They don't want to complain too much while they're in a war. Yeah, that's kind of also it, too. T'Chulu died. I think he was one of the Reds we had. Dehydrated. We will kill T'Chulu again. Also, what is it in game? All right, we have one more month. This is what I was talking about, though, with the hearing testing. As you put out, there's like there's a brotherhood to it. The problem is a lot of time the brotherhood is used against you. Not even necessarily intentionally. Sometimes it's unintentional, but it is still used against you. So the thing with the hearing test, for instance, or people not going to the doctor before they leave the military. Everyone's got to wake up in the morning and do PT, right? But that's also the same time you go to sick call to say, hey, something's wrong with me, before and or whether or not that leads into full-blown, hey, go talk to a doctor or something like that. You go to sick call. If you're having an issue and you're going to sick call a lot, and it's nothing that's like directly stopping you, like you're able to go to sick call, but then you go back to work, and you go to sick call, you go back to work, well, then it's like, oh, golly gee, we're all suffering and waking up wicked early and doing this grueling 5-mile run. Where are you every day? So the brotherhood, the camaraderie becomes like the unit is like, you're lazy because you're not doing the crappy shit with us in the morning. So a lot of people basically get pressured into, that's why I was saying go on Saturdays. There's no pressure. You're wasting your own Saturday morning, so who cares? But a lot of people will say, oh, well, I'm not going because if I go, then I'm a shitbag. I don't want to look like a shitbag. Everyone else is complaining. They've all got bad knees. Maybe mine's just like theirs. I don't want to be a whiner. So what happens is everyone kind of doesn't want to be a whiner in front of everyone else. So none of them go to the fucking doctor. And then they get out and then afterwards try to say, oh, I've got a bad knee. Since when? You never said it in the Army. Well, that's because no one's saying it in the Army, but that's not a good excuse in the VA. So that's why I'm suggesting if anyone's in the military, once a month, once every 2 months, just go into that doctor, just report all the weird shit. My elbow hurts sometimes. I've got a bit of a rash. Everything. Everything. Report that. Because then after the fact, you know what's going to happen? Even if you don't directly count it, the doctors at the VA will look at what you have in your record too. And they'll basically ask you like, hey, I see you've got X, Y, and Z. Are you claiming that? Even if you didn't think to claim it, the fact that it was in your record, they're going to ask you if you're claiming it. So then you'll know that's something you should probably claim, because they'll be like, oh, you got X, Y, and Z. That was probably caused by this. Are you claiming this? Yes. Yes, I am. Not even like you're being opportunistic and trying to get more. If you don't say that, a lot of people don't know that there are things to claim. Why am I putting wood there? I don't know. But no, always. Like I said, the VA is your friend. I don't know why VA gets such a bad rap. Well, I kind of know, because everyone says the VA doesn't try to help or VA does a bunch of shit. And it doesn't. It really doesn't. They're basically like an AI. They're basically like a dwarf. They go off of what they're programmed to do. The VA has to do X for Y situation. That's what it is. If you give them a good situation, they'll work with you. If you don't, then they won't. Not because they don't want to, but because they have to not do it. But also as a secondary thing, we talked about VA math. VA math is set up in a way to prevent you from getting 100%. A lot of people get 100% disability, but it's set up in a weird way to try to mitigate you from getting 100% disability, to lower your rating and how much the military and the VA owe you. The reason for this, at least this is my theory for the reason for this, is because for some effing reason, VA disability stacks with all other disability. Most disability in the United States is needs-based. Can you not work? Well, then we will give you about the amount of money, for a little less, for you to survive because you can't work. You poor soul, have a good day. VA is literally, we broke you. We're so sorry. Here's your blood money because we broke you. That's really what it kind of comes down to. And it sounds goofy that I'm over reading it. But the reason why I bring this up is if you get 100% disability from the VA, you can't work. You probably have a disability that qualifies for Social Security disability insurance. You can apply for both and they both stack. Like the VA disability does not remove your ability to collect any other disability. And usually if you have a high enough VA disability, you also qualify for another disability. That's really it. So it kind of makes sense for the government to say, hey, we're going to do stupid nonsense to try to keep your numbers as low as possible. Because you're probably going to have that number count for a different disability as well. VA disability is not can you work unless it's 100%. You can be 90% disabled according to VA disability and still have a full-time job, and neither of these two will affect the other. If you have a full-time job, you don't get less money from the VA unless it is 100% complete and total, which means we, the government, are saying this man cannot work. As long as they haven't said you can't work, you can make as much money as you want, and the VA still pays you the same amount of money. We have hit the 1 hour though. I'm gonna wait 6 in-game days before I do the save. We're close. According to what we found out, the military discovered right after they recruited him and said anything because they considered him too valuable. If he was an intel, I don't know what his scores were. Again, I'm getting all this information off of what you're saying. But if they were going into an Iraqi thing, then it was wartime. Again, it's a bunch of units doing different things. It's not like the chief of the army. Hold on, chief of the army. Oh, Grogrin is dead? Did I kill Grogrin already? I didn't know he died. When did Grogrin die? Hold on. Must have missed something. 19. I should have 20 files in here. 24 selected. 5 people died and I didn't know. Hold on. Art of Stuttering, you're dead. Bear Grylls is alive. Big Orange is alive. Suloic, CJ the Insane Gifter, Coca-Cola 5, Dominate, Dragoman, Eldritch. Earman 1, you are dead. Gapoy. Please don't get dwarfed right now. Whoever got dwarfed, you're gonna confuse me. Who just got dwarfed? Because you're not in Art of Stuttering. All right. No one else get dwarfed. Because the list is gonna be wrong. If you get re-dwarfed, it'll put you in. Gapoy is dead. Ghostword is alive. Ginger Surge is alive. Grogrin, we just determined he died. I don't know how I missed him dying. Maybe they had to have found the body if I put the ghosts to rest. Hellfire, Inside Eps, Maz Kitten. Migrants is the migrant account. Moopy Boopy is alive. Madison, RNG Strategist. That was me testing, so we'll get rid of that. 24-19. So the rest of these should be good. Sirlac. Chulu, you're alive, but you're not alive in the list. That's not good. Let me create Chulu in the list. All right, Chulu, I've corrected yours. You now exist again. Sirlac, Zakthos. All right. Now that has been, I don't know where they all died from. All right, Art of Stuttering. You got dwarf number. By the way, the rest of you can dwarf now. We're good. I'm not editing the list anymore. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Art of Stuttering. All right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry. With like the differences of like the weird little drips of information I'm getting from you, I don't know the situation. It's not like it's a grand army conspiracy, but even if it is, it's not the VA. The VA did not tell him about what was happening to him in the army. You complain a lot about everything. There's no paperwork. They think you're perfectly healthy. You have 2 disabilities. You can also establish yourself in Appalachia and raise fighting chickens for the rest of your life. What the fuck? I hear what you're saying, and I don't blame the whole army. I just think it was really shitty. Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not. It was shitty. Oh no, welcome to Mountain Home 13. I got you in. No dwarf. My grandpa had a commander that was so bad he got lost on a hike. Everybody else was back at base after 3 days before they found him. And was having a secret fair in the woods. He was in the unit was disabled and he wasn't letting any of them out. Yeah. Like I said. There used to be a thing called stop loss too, which is basically you were at the, I think it's still in, it's just not active right now, which was you would get to the end of your contract. You said, hey, Army, I'll give you 2 years of my life if you give me some sweet, sweet benefits. All right. And you get to the end of the 2 years and the Army goes, oh, we're fighting in Iraq right now. That's nice for you, Army, but I only agreed to 2 years and that's what our contract said. So I'm gonna leave now. Good luck with your time in Iraq. The Army go, we're gonna stop loss you. What's stop loss? Stop loss is where we stop you leaving so we don't lose you. What? Oh, we'll pay you extra money, but you're not allowed to leave now. I only agreed to 2 years. Well, technically you signed up for 8 years, only 2 of which were active. And if you look at subsection C, we reserve the right in times of war to keep you in as long as necessary if we so need it while we're at war. Aren't we kind of always at war? Yes. Huh. But you'll pay me more money, right? Oh, we will pay you so you don't complain to the news. Okay, I guess this is shitty. Keep your morale up, it's a lot of money. It's not a hidden. When I threw in the don't report it to the news thing, it's not a hidden thing. It's like, oh, go to the news now. But the amount of people they stop lost, I'm willing to bet if all the people at the beginning of Iraq and Afghanistan had reported to the news how many people were being stop lost, there would have been a bit of a public uproar. They basically stop lost everyone. Who got dwarfed? Art. Art of Stuttering, also just known as Art. You have a husband who is a siege engineer but unnamed. You have a child who is a child and a daughter who is a peasant. You have an extended family, none of which are named or important. You pray to two gods. Odal, a male dwarf associated with fire, volcanoes, earth, and mountains. And of course, Avuz, a female dwarf associated with games, luck, and jewels. You recently thought one should always return a favor because you remembered watching a performance. Art is very rarely sick and agile, but she is quick to tire and very flimsy. Art likes hornblende, steel, almandine, picks, gauntlets, doors, figurines, ducks for their quacks, giant grasshoppers for their chirping, and the sight of the luxury of music. When possible, she prefers to consume stingray and sandpear cider. She absolutely detests flies. She has a feel for music and willpower, but she has a shortage of patience, little linguistic ability, and very bad sense of empathy. She dreams of creating a great work of art someday. You have a child as a child. Good. So you don't have a child as a tree. It all makes sense. Don't look behind the curtain. Nothing to see here. Not bins, I need caskets. We have tons of dead dwarves. Oh, but we're at 3 days. We've had enough time. I'm going to end the recording here for YouTube. So those of you who are watching the archive on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. Catch you guys next time.